Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are unpacking something that honestly feels like a monumental shift in how we connect to the digital world. I mean, if you're sick and tired of a leaky internet infrastructure where literally every move you make is tracked and monetized, well, you're going to want to stick around. We're talking about a leap toward absolute sovereign connectivity, specifically through a network called VIVON, and it is absolutely fascinating.
Okay, let's dive into this by asking you a pretty direct question. Is your internet connection leaky? You know, most of us just connect through our standard internet service providers, our ISPs, and we rarely give it a second thought, right? But here's the reality. Those standard connections are leaking data everywhere. They are actively tracking every single site you visit and monitoring every byte of data you move across their networks. It's kind of crazy when you think about it. A whole system built on constant surveillance where your basic connectivity basically costs you your privacy.
To really grasp this leap forward, we have to contrast where we are right now with where we're headed. We are moving away from those standard ISPs running on a leaky Web 2 infrastructure. You know, that whole environment of tracked data and constant snooping. We're moving towards Layer 2 of Web 4. This represents a completely private, highly secure path for your digital life. So instead of broadcasting your movements to everyone, Web 4 uses what we call an invisible tunnel. It's a complete paradigm shift. Imagine going from a public highway loaded with traffic cameras to a totally private, secure subterranean route. Now, what's really cool is the actual technology powering that invisible tunnel. It's an acronym, VIVON, which stands for Virtual, Integrated, Verified Operating Network. But let's focus strictly on what it practically does, because that's the exciting part. VIVON is literally the invisible infrastructure of Web 4. Think about it. In the past, we've always focused so much on making sure our data is secure, right? Encrypting files, scrambling messages. But VIVON goes a massive step further. It ensures that the actual path your data takes across the network is just as secure as the data itself. So the crucial point is how this whole technical upgrade actually translates into real, everyday benefits for you, the end user. Why does VIVON actually matter? Well, it breaks down into 4 foundational pillars: untraceable browsing, seamless global roaming, censorship resistance, and high-speed resilience. And listen, these aren't just tiny incremental updates. We are talking about massive quality-of-life improvements that fundamentally change how we interact online. Let's break down each one of these pillars to really understand the impact.
First up, Pillar 1, untraceable browsing. The way VIVON actually pulls this off is through something called decentralized routing. So instead of sending your data through a central hub that's super easy to monitor, VIVON creates paths that are completely invisible. State actors, your ISP, advertisers, they can't see it. Think about how you browse right now. You essentially leave this massive digital breadcrumb trail everywhere you go. And that trail, it's immediately scooped up by corporate advertisers trying to sell you stuff, or it's monitored by state actors, while VIVON stops that in its tracks. You navigate the digital world freely, and that breadcrumb trail simply does not exist anymore.
Moving right along to Pillar 2, seamless global roaming. Now, if you've ever traveled internationally, you already know the absolute headache of trying to stay connected. It's the worst. But VIVON solves this so elegantly. Here's how it works. First, it uses integrated eSIM technology to keep you constantly directly linked to the Web 4 backbone. Second, this connection is hardware encrypted and just activates globally by design. And third, and this is the best part for you, you can finally say goodbye to the whole hassle of hunting down physical SIM cards in weird foreign airports or coming home to a massive phone bill full of exorbitant roaming fees. You are just securely connected wherever you happen to go.
Okay, that brings us to Pillar 3, censorship resistance.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core philosophy of Web 4. There's a great quote here. Access to information is no longer a corporate privilege that can be switched off. Just let that sink in for a second. Because the VIVON network is totally decentralized and verified via a UIID, which is a unique universal identifier that belongs solely to you, no single corporate entity or central authority has the power to just pull the plug on your access. It basically elevates the whole concept of an unfiltered internet. It goes from being a mere corporate privilege that can be revoked on a whim to a permanent, unblockable fundamental right. Finally, we hit Pillar 4, high-speed resilience. Now, it's super easy to assume that adding all this heavy privacy and encryption would just totally bog down your speeds, right? Actually, no. VIVON is a massive upgrade in sheer network performance, too. See, traditional Web 2 routing constantly relies on this whole series of middlemen just to get your data from point A to B.
And obviously, that naturally creates bottlenecks and slower connections. But VIVON routing relies on direct, verified handshakes. By completely cutting those middlemen right out of the data routing process, the network isn't just way more secure, it actually leads to noticeably faster and highly resilient connections.
Which leads us to our summary, the transformation to Web 4. Let's move to and see how this builds into the ultimate reality of VIVON. We are decisively moving away from the past. VIVON entirely replaces that leaky, surveillance-heavy infrastructure of Web 2 we talked about earlier. In its place, it gives you a hardened, sovereign track for all your data. So what you really should take away from this explainer today is that for the very first time, your connection to the world is truly private, it's incredibly fast, and most importantly, it is entirely under your control. You are no longer the product being tracked. You are finally the master of your own digital domain.
Which leaves us with one final vital question to reflect on. Are you ready to take control of your connection? The invisible infrastructure of sovereign connectivity isn't some distant future concept, it's here. This shift from Web 2 to Web 4 isn't just another tech upgrade. It is a full-on reclamation of your digital privacy and your absolute freedom to explore the world without leaving that massive breadcrumb trail behind. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I will see you next time.